like a flash, a small man dressed in a green ran past the door, about a foot tall, and another kid saw it too. I saw something flash by. I swear it was like Dash from The Incredibles. He shined his flashlight around and caught sight of something dressed in all green peering from behind a pillar. I looked over, fully thinking I was about to see a deer, when all of a sudden out walks a 7-foot-tall leprechaun with orange hair. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Real Spooky Stories, the place where I tell your real spooky stories. If you'd like to share your story, give me a little email on realspooky-stories-podcast@gmail.com, or if you want to follow any social media below, and if you want any topics talked about or whatever, just want to say hello, if you want to give feedback, if you hate something I'm doing or if you love it, just get in touch, you know. So it is St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, and we have a leprechaun episode. When I done the 13 Nights of Christmas, and one of the episodes, I think it was episode 6, was called Santa Claus is Coming. It was real people's sightings of Santa Claus, or like noises they heard, or like a sleigh going past the window and stuff. And in a lot of the comments, there was real people sightings about the Easter Bunny and leprechauns. So straight away I was like, I've got to do a leprechaun episode for St. Patrick's Day, because it's just got to be done. And a couple of these stories are actually on St. Patrick's Day, which I thought, like, I don't really know much about leprechauns, but I'm sorry if I offend anyone and I'm using the wrong words or things like that, but I'm just reading what the stories say. But I didn't really know much about them, but I didn't really think they were just on that day. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, when you see Santa, it's Christmas or Christmas Eve, but I didn't think you only saw leprechauns on St. Patrick's Day. I thought they were just an Irish thing. But anyway. Also, I've never seen the Leprechaun film, and I've heard that it's actually alright. So I might give that a watch. Maybe tonight. Or tomorrow. To get into the spirit. But anyway, as usual, all the stories are linked below. I've got a few stories here, and of course I've got a creepypasta one, because I'm going to do that going forward on every episode at the end. So stay around for a creepypasta story about a leprechaun. Okay, so the first story is taken from the subreddit The Truth Is Here, and it is by the user pale_ad_899. It is titled, When I Was a Kid, I Saw a Leprechaun. I, 23 years old, have no other explanation for what I saw in, I believe, first grade. I know this sounds dumb, but here's what happened. It was St. Patrick's Day, and we were making paper rainbows to hang up from the ceiling. As students finished their rainbows, the teacher came around and hung them above us. She laid strands of iridescent tassel on each of the rainbows, left to hang freely. After she hung one above my desk and continued around the room, I was still neatly colouring mine in. I saw something flash by. I swear it was like Dash from The Incredibles. The iridescent tassels on the rainbow above me whisked and fluttered on my desk. I just stared at that area in disbelief, looking around to see if anyone else had noticed. I looked at the windows and the door, only to see them shut. I looked at all the other tassels on the hung-up rainbows, and they weren't moving from any breeze. To this day, I'm not sure if I was imagining things, caught an optical illusion, or if I really saw what I think I saw. It's one of my most distinct memories. I don't really share this story with anyone because it makes me sound crazy. Somebody has commented their experience. They've put, I've had a very similar experience. I was 7 or 8. It wasn't specifically St. Patrick's Day, but it was in March, because every March my teacher made a really big deal of St. Patrick's Day little activities, crafts, etc. On one of which being that a leprechaun would visit our class and play tricks on us. This one day the power went out in our room. Then someone knocked on the door, and just as you described it, like a flash, a small man dressed in a green ran past the door, about a foot tall, and another kid saw it too. I'm 29 now, I'm a rational person, and I still can't explain it. That's crazy, but you've literally just said a little leprechaun will come to the class and play tricks on you. So would it not just be that? But also, the power going out's a bit far, isn't it? Somebody put, I know someone who said they saw a leprechaun one night dancing on a shelf in their room, and it freaked him out badly. He was Irish too, but was sternly against anything like that or paranormal, and was terrified from the experience. Somebody has commented back to that comment. When I was 6 and my sister was 4, we both got out of bed at 3 or 4 in the morning. I was about to go through the living room to get a snack from the kitchen, but my sister stopped dead still in front of me and was staring at our coffee table by the sofa. She said then that she was seeing a tiny green girl dancing quietly on the table. I never saw a thing, but all those years gone by now, she never changed her story or forgot any detail. It was anyways the same every time she tells her story. I have no idea what she saw, but a kid leprechaun. Lol. Are leprechauns always men? Or can they be women too? I mean, we're in 2025 now. Leprechauns can be women. So this story is from the subreddit The Truth Is Here, and it is by the user Great Odin's Ravenclaw, and is titled Did I See a Leprechaun? I never thought I'd share this event with anyone at the risk of sounding illogical, but I thought this may be the best platform to do it. I acknowledge that I was quite young when this occurred, so I will only share what I remember, but I know what I saw. I'm 28. As a child, I was in the same multi-grade classroom for grades 1 through 3, so I had the same teacher for those 3 years. Every year on March the 1st, my teacher would explain that every day until the St. Patrick's Day, her mischievous friend, Patty the Leprechaun, would visit our classrooms, cause mayhem, and play innocent tricks on my classmates and I. Some examples would include coming into the laces in the morning and our shoes would be tied together at the laces, or we'd return from recess or music and the classroom would be a mess, accompanied by a note from Patty on the whiteboard. In the back of my mind, I wondered if it was our teacher doing this, but it was still delightfully fun and look forward to see this every year nonetheless. My perception of these events changed one day in the 2nd or 3rd grade, somewhere between March the 1st and 17th. We were in class when suddenly the lights turned off and the computer shut down. Naturally, I turned around to see if someone had flicked the lights off, but no one was standing at the switch. The next thing I remember is someone knocking at our classroom door. A student opened it, but no one was there, and reportedly no one in the hall. Our class was giddy with excitement, and we wondered if Patty was responsible for this. I acknowledge these events are fairly explainable, but alongside the classroom door, there was a window that was as tall as the door, but only about a foot wide. I was gazing at this window, curious to see if the mysterious knocker would return. I was just feet away from the door. Suddenly, I saw a small green man flash across the window. The best way I can describe it is a small, hazy side profile of a small man, about a foot tall, with a brown beard and a green suit. He was in a stance as though he was running, although he was frozen in that position as he flashed across the window. It was a split second, and it was gone. The figure looked apparition-like and didn't appear to have the tangibility of a physical object. It didn't look like a piece of paper being pulled across the window. I realised it's possible that another staff at the school was in on this and somehow did this. I've pondered the possibility of ways they could have accomplished this, and I can't seem to come up with an explanation. And I know I didn't imagine it because a moment after I saw it, another girl in my class exclaimed, "I just saw something run past the window." 20 plus years later, I know what I saw, but I still don't understand it. I'm left wondering, was my little 7-year-old eyes deceived by a simple trick, or did my elementary school teacher have some Mrs. Frizzle-esque magic about her, and somehow summon a magical creature to mystify us? There's quite a few comments of what people believe about this one, and it's mostly people just saying, it's not what you think or whatever, but I don't know, I like the idea that it was. Also, your teacher sounds cool. If I was a teacher, I'd do something like this, and I'd probably take it too far and get the kids scared for life. Okay, so this one is from the subreddit The Truth Is Here, and it is by the user Jack E. Dog. It's titled Leprechaun Sighting. This isn't a recent sighting because I just found this group. It happened in elementary school, and I'm a senior in high school now, so perhaps you might be less inclined to believe me, but here it goes. So it happened when I was in elementary school in 1st grade. It was St. Patrick's Day. My friend Ollie was already in the hallway when I left the classroom. The hallway was pretty quiet because it was the end of the day. Ollie said, "Jack, look up there, it's a leprechaun." He was pointing up the ceiling where the tile was removed. I looked up and saw a green figure in the ceiling right before it disappeared. I went home and told my mum immediately after. Needless to say, she was super impressed that I saw a leprechaun. So what do we think here? Has anyone else seen one? I know it might not be the best, but I mean, it wasn't just me who saw it, unless Ollie was pranking me. How could Ollie be pranking you if you looked up and saw it yourself? And someone said it was in the US. The OP has put it's in the US, not Ireland. Someone else commented, "I swear I saw one also when I was a child at school on St. Patrick's Day. I was sitting at my desk in school and I swear I saw what looked like a tiny person run on the carpet next to my desk." Shrugs, who knows? It seems like there's a lot of sightings and all like on St. Patrick's Day. Like, do they only come out on St. Patrick's Day or something? This one is from Paranormal Encounters and it is titled, "Has anyone encountered gnome/leprechaun type beings?" And it is by the user Urban Law Podcast. I have a friend who used to work security. One night we were patrolling a building that had parking beneath it, not subterranean. Imagine a building on stilts with open parking below it. He thought he saw someone. There were no cars other than this patrol vehicle. He shined his flashlight around and caught sight of something dressed in all green peering from behind a pillar. He said he looked human, about the size of a 12-year-old. It gave him the impression of playing hide and seek. It ducked behind this pillar and vanished. There was nowhere else to hide and should not have been able to leave the open area without being seen or heard. It was 2 or 3 a.m. He's never dismissed the idea that it was a kid or a person just messing with him, but he maintains he has no idea how it vanished. Would love to hear if anyone else has any experience like this. Someone's commented, my dad saw one as a kid in his house. It was a small man. He says the elf was gesturing with his finger to come over. My dad was afraid and ran away. All of these other experiences, it's not like someone, they're not like doing anything to you, they're just running past. And like, it's like a quick flash, but the one gesturing to come over, imagine if you would have went over it. Oh, that's horrible. This one is from Paranormal Encounters and it is by the user MMY and it's titled, Had a Strange Leprechaun Experience. I don't usually use Reddit, so I don't know if this is an appropriate spot for this, but here goes. I had an encounter I've never been able to explain. When I was 10, I was wandering through my backwoods on St. Patrick's Day. By that point, I was well aware that leprechauns were not real, so I wasn't looking for anything, so much as just killing some time. No neighbours behind our house, no anything. Just woods. I knew the woods very well and was extremely comfortable spending days wandering around. At one point, I stopped walking for a bit and was just looking around when I heard some sticks break. I looked over, fully thinking I was about to see a deer, when all of a sudden, out walks a 7-foot-tall leprechaun with orange hair. No mask on or anything like that, just a huge dude dressed as a leprechaun, in the middle of the woods with orange hair and a beard. He didn't see me, and I totally froze up. I watched him walk for maybe 10 to 15 seconds. The only thing I remember thinking is, I can't do nothing. I was froze but somehow managed to yell out, "Hey you!" Dude stopped in his tracks and turned his head and looked at me and sort of grinned. Lost all courage at that point and turned around and ran faster than I ever have in my life. Have no clue if he gave a chase or not, but in my mind it felt like he was right behind me and I never slowed or looked back. This experience has drove me nuts ever since it happened, because I don't know how to explain it. Nobody knew where I was going, so it couldn't have been a setup. I've asked my parents and they both say they didn't have anything to do with it and just thought I made it up as a kid. Thinking about it as an adult, my best guess is that I saw something that day and my brain just wasn't able to process it, and my mind turned it into something that I could understand. And since it was St. Patrick's Day, I ended up seeing a leprechaun. I honestly have no idea though, and it has stuck with me for years. I've never seen anything paranormal or whatever you want to call it since. I've always hated the fact that in a world where people see ghosts, UFO and Bigfoot, I had to see the most ridiculous thing possible. Figured I would throw it out and see if anyone had had any explanations or similar experiences. Someone's just put, it's just a drunk Irishman going for a wee in the woods at the back of a party. That's what I thought. It's a 7-foot guy. First of all, a leprechaun is small apparently, isn't it? But I don't know. I'm not up to scratch on me leprechaun folklore. But also, a 7-foot person, that's really tall. Like, a 6-foot person, I think, is tall, so I feel like 7 foot. That's really tall, but it could just be a big guy. And it would actually be funny if he was at a party and he'd dressed as a leprechaun, because he's the opposite of what a leprechaun would look like. Somebody's commented, can you go into any more detail of facial features, any telepathicness, any strangeness to it? The OP has commented back, the face had a strange waxy sheen to it. All of the features were mostly normal except for the mouth. His mouth was too long, and when he grinned, it seemed to get even bigger. And no telepathic feelings or anything of that sort that I felt. He seemed to have no clue I was there until I spoke. I've had people suggest maybe it was a dude in a mask, but I'm sure he wasn't wearing a mask. I saw him blink and his features move and change when he grinned. People are saying an orangutan got loose by a zoo. People are just saying, someone's going to tell you it's a skinwalker, and they've put, I'm sick of hearing that response. Somebody else has put what I've just said as well. It's St. Patrick's Day, people like to dress up. This is just a drunk guy in a costume wandering around the woods. The OP has put back, totally could be, but maybe the thing I'm not being clear about is how far in the woods we lived. This dude would have to walk for a few miles just to make it out to a road from where I encountered him. Somebody's put, maybe leprechauns were always giants and we were told they were small and short to throw us off the scent. That was the last story of the true real spooky stories, but if you go in the comments, there's so many people saying they've got experiences and they are really creepy. I don't know why I feel so creepy about them, but it's because they're little and they could just be hiding anywhere. And like the security guy said, the one that was hiding, it feels like they're always peeking around or hiding. They're never just out in the open and like living life, you know. They're always like running past or something. I don't know, but it's time for creepypasta. Creepypasta. I think I'm going to keep that as the jingle. No, it's actually a show, but whatever. I want a little jingle, and that might be it for now. So here's a creepypasta. It is from the user WyattGreg030, and it is titled The Leprechaun. I'm a 20-year-old girl who lives in Cork Island. I was in a really bad accident not that long ago, and ever since I was crippled from the waist down. But me being crippled wasn't the only thing that happened after the accident. After the accident, I started hearing noises when I'm asleep. I don't know what it is, but they really haven't bothered me. Well, until now, last night, I heard a knocking on my door and high-pitched laughing. I couldn't tell who it was, but the creepiest thing is that they kept knocking for at least 2 hours. Eventually, I went to check if somebody needed help. But when I got to the door, no one was there. It was the next night, and the same knocking and laughing occurred, but this time it wasn't my front door, it was my bedroom door. So I got my phone and dialed 112, Ireland's emergency service number. I told them that I needed help. There's an intruder in my house. They told me that they would be there right away and stay on the phone. So I was waiting for the police to arrive when all of a sudden my phone died, which was weird because it was at 50%. And then not long after, I heard a voice coming from my door. It was the same high-pitched sound as the laugh saying, "I just want a friend." I was terrified, but as soon as the police arrived, the knocking stopped and the police called my name. They told me there was no sign of intrusion and that there was nobody there. I was confused, but I just told them sorry and went to sit in the living room because there was no way I could sleep after that. A few minutes after they left, I heard knocking again, but this time it was from the inside of my room. I panicked and quickly reached for my phone, soon realising I left it in my room. So I had no choice but to get out of there. I wheeled my way over to my front door and opened it so I could leave. But as I did that, the knocking stopped. So I looked behind me and my bedroom door to see it was open. And then, boom, the front door slammed shut. I started to freak out trying to open the door, but I couldn't. Then the same voice that was at my door told me to calm down. I just want a friend. But at that point, I was too freaked out to stop. But I should have listened because it just made him angrier. He talked to me again, but this time in a deep and stern voice. He said to calm down, but again, I didn't listen. A few minutes of struggling to get out of my house, and he was right beside me. A 4-foot man with a green suit and a top hat. His face was wrinkly and he had a red beard that reached down to his buckled belt. His eyes were just black, no colour whatsoever. He just looked at me and smiled. His teeth were sharp and yellow, like he hadn't brushed for years. He told me in a creepy voice that he just wanted a friend. Out of nowhere, he started to float. His head quickly peered towards me, and then he attacks by floating towards me quickly. He raises his arms and put his hands in claw form, sharp nails coming out of his fingers one by one. He quickly gets to me and starts slashing as quickly as possible. I tried so hard to get out of there that I accidentally punched him. I opened the door quickly and I made a run for it while wailing and screaming. I got about 15 feet away before I looked back, and there he was at my living room window staring at me. But before he disappears, he waved goodbye. I got out with a few cuts and bruises, but after that, he never returned. That was a short one and it was creepy. Also, what's he doing and why is he just in your house and clawing at you and stuff? Like, what's the end goal there? Okay, so that is the end of the episode. It was actually a shorter one today, wasn't it? And the creepypasta story was quite short as well. And I was actually just going to read another one, but I can't find one. So, yeah, if you want to read the comments on all of them, there is quite a lot of comments of real leprechaun sightings. But I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I enjoyed it too. It's something, I don't know, is it paranormal though? Or is it just what is it, you know? I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It's just a bit different, isn't it? But it's also still spooky. And all of real people's experiences is making it more creepy because there's so many. Literally, every single comment was like people's experiences and it's just weird. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you are liking this so far, please give a little like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're on. It all helps the algorithm and get to be seen by more people. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, and I hope you have an amazing St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Even if you're not doing anything, even if you're just having a pint of Guinness, or even if you're not doing anything, just have a lovely time, and I will see you on Sunday for a new episode at 12 p.m. as usual. Goodbye.